The late autumn wind whispered through the skeletal branches along Maplewood Lane, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and the distant hum of a train. Inside the modest Turner home, Eric Turner stood by the kitchen window, his hands wrapped around a coffee cup that had long gone cold. His sharp eyes followed Max, his K9 trained German shepherd, as the dog patrolled the frost-kissed yard with unwavering focus. Max had been his partner for years, a dog once trained for high-intensity tactical work. But now, their biggest battle wasn't in the field. It was against time and financial ruin. Eric's stomach tightened at the thought of the eviction notice sitting on the counter. 3 missed mortgage payments, mounting debt, and rejection after rejection from job applications had left him feeling cornered. His wife, Amelia, had been taking double shifts at the hospital, but even her relentless work ethic wasn't enough to keep them afloat. The burden of keeping their family together felt heavier with each passing day. Behind him, Sophia, his 15-year-old daughter, stepped into the doorway, her long brown hair twisted in a loose braid. "Dad, are we going to be okay?" Her voice was soft but laced with worry. Eric forced a smile, though the weight in his chest made it feel hollow. "Of course, sweetheart. We'll figure something out." But before he could say more, 12-year-old Jason came bounding down the stairs, his face lit up with excitement. He had no idea the storm brewing in his father's mind. But soon, he would stumble upon something that would change everything, a dog competition with a life-changing prize. The unexpected opportunity. The weight of uncertainty clung to Eric Turner like a shadow, following him through each moment of the day. The bills stacked on the counter, the foreclosure notice lingering in the back of his mind, and the way Amelia's exhaustion had begun to show in the deep lines around her eyes. It all felt suffocating. He had spent his life providing, protecting, making sure his family never had to feel insecure. But now, he felt helpless. Outside, Max, his K9 trained German shepherd, continued his silent patrol of the yard. Even though he was no longer working in the field, his discipline never wavered. The dog still carried himself like a professional, ears pricked, muscles tense, always alert. Eric envied that kind of unwavering certainty. If only he could find a way to fix things before it was too late. That night, after Amelia left for another late shift at the hospital, Eric sat at the kitchen table, staring at job listings on his laptop. His shoulders ached, his eyes burned, and yet every listing seemed to scream the same thing. Not hiring, overqualified, position filled. He exhaled sharply, rubbing his face with both hands. Just then, Jason came running into the room, nearly tripping over his own feet. "Dad! You've got to see this!" His voice carried a breathless excitement that Eric hadn't heard in weeks. Without waiting for permission, Jason shoved his tablet into his father's hands. The screen was lit up with a bold advertisement for a high-stakes national dog competition. "The American K9 Challenge," the banner read, glowing with gold and blue lettering. Below it, a video montage played, dogs leaping over hurdles, weaving through tight obstacle courses, sprinting at full speed across a field. Some performed intricate commands, showcasing skills that required both intelligence and raw athleticism. The grand prize? $75,000. Eric blinked. That number sent a chill through him. That money could save their home. Jason's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Dad, Max could do this. He's already trained." Yo Eric shook his head. "Jason, those are professional handlers. Max was trained for tactical operations, not tricks in a stadium." Jason's expression fell slightly, but his determination didn't waver. "But Dad, isn't that an advantage? He's not just any dog. He's K9 trained. He knows discipline, endurance, commands. What if this is our chance?" Eric hesitated. He glanced out the window at Max, who was sitting at the edge of the porch, watching them with sharp, intelligent eyes. There was no doubt that Max was special. Even after leaving the force, Max had retained his skill set, his precision, his speed, his unwavering loyalty. He was more than just a pet. He was a protector, a partner, a fighter. Still, doubt gnawed at Eric's mind. Jason, these competitions aren't just about skill. They require training strategy. It's not like we can just show up and expect to win. Jason set his jaw, his hands curling into fists. I know about the house, Dad. Eric's stomach twisted. Jason. I heard you and Mom talking last night, his son interrupted. His voice wavered slightly, but his eyes remained firm, determined. I know we're in trouble, and I know we need this. Eric let out a slow breath, his heart tightening. Jason was only 12. He should be worrying about school, about soccer practice, not about losing the only home he had ever known. We're a family, Dad, Jason continued, and families don't just give up. Eric's throat felt tight. He looked at the competition ad again, the video replaying. The prize money was real, the opportunity was real, but so was the risk. The entry fee, Eric murmured, $750. Jason froze. Oh, that's nearly everything we have left, Eric admitted, his voice low. Jason looked at him, then at Max. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the refrigerator. Then, Sophia's voice broke the silence. We should do it. Eric turned to see his daughter standing in the doorway, arms crossed. This is crazy, Eric muttered, shaking his head. Sophia didn't back down. So is losing our house. Eric exhaled. He glanced at Jason, at Sophia, and finally at Max, who still watched him from the porch, ears pricked. Max had always been there for them, through everything. He had protected their home, guarded their family. Maybe, just maybe, it was time to trust Max to protect them in a different way. Eric looked back at the ad one more time. Then, slowly, he said, All right. Jason let out a breathless cheer, pumping his fist in the air. Sophia grinned. But, Eric added firmly, if we're doing this, we do it right. We train like professionals. No half measures. Jason nodded furiously. Of course. Max won't let us down, Dad. I know it. Eric wasn't sure if his son was trying to convince him or himself, but he had no choice but to believe. Because at this point, faith in Max might be the only thing keeping their family together. The decision had been made. There was no turning back now. That night, after Amelia left for her night shift, Eric Turner sat at the kitchen table, staring at the official registration email for the American K-9 Challenge. The $750 entry fee had been paid. Their last emergency savings were gone. The risk was enormous, and failure was not an option. Out in the yard, Max, his K-9-trained German shepherd, sat in the moonlight, still as a statue, his sharp eyes scanning the darkness. For years, Max had been trained for discipline, endurance, and high-intensity work. Now, Eric was about to push him into a completely different battlefield, a competition against elite handlers and their champion dogs. The weight of the challenge pressed heavily on Eric's chest. They had only 21 days to prepare. Day 1. The plan. The next morning, Sophia and Jason gathered in the backyard as Eric outlined their training plan. We're not just going up against house pets, he told them, his tone firm. These are professional handlers with professionally trained dogs. If we want to win, Max needs to be better, faster, smarter. Jason, vibrating with excitement, practically bounced on his heels. Max already is better. We just have to prove it. Sophia, ever the realist, raised an eyebrow. Dad, he's a K-9 dog. He's trained for search and rescue, security, and tracking. This is about speed and precision. Do you think he can really adapt? Eric glanced at Max, who stood beside them, ears pricked, tail high, waiting for his command. We're about to find out. Week 1. Breaking the limits. The training began at dawn. Eric took Max to the local high school track, where they worked on explosive sprint drills. The speed trial event would require Max to run a straight 100-yard dash in record time. Go! Eric commanded. Max exploded forward like a bullet, his muscles rippling under his sleek coat. Eric timed every run down to the millisecond. Jason cheered as Max tore through the track. "He's a rocket, Dad!" But Eric wasn't satisfied. Shaving off milliseconds could mean the difference between winning and losing. To push Max further, he used an old K9 trick, training with a resistance parachute attached to Max's harness. The first time, Max resisted, confused by the added weight. "Come on, buddy," Eric murmured, kneeling down beside him. "You've been through tougher." He met Max's deep brown eyes, full of unwavering trust. With a single sharp command, Max surged forward, dragging the parachute behind him like a warrior charging into battle. By the end of the first week, Max's speed had increased dramatically. Week 2. Precision and agility speed was only half the battle. The agility course was where champions were made, or broken. Eric transformed their backyard into a homemade obstacle course, using old tires, wooden planks, and PVC pipes. Max had to weave through poles, jump over hurdles, and balance on narrow platforms. At first, it was a mess. Max overshot turns, hesitated at unstable surfaces, and missed jumps by inches. "We're gonna lose," Jason muttered, watching Max struggle. "Not if we push through," Eric said. And push through they did. Eric worked Max tirelessly, morning, noon, and night. If Max missed a turn, they repeated it 20 times until it was perfect. If he hesitated at a jump, Eric adjusted the angle until Max cleared it with confidence. By the end of week 2, Max's movements were sharp, precise, and seamless. Sophia, who had once doubted the plan, now timed Max's runs with increasing excitement. "He's a machine," she said one evening, watching Max clear a 6-foot hurdle like it was nothing. Eric wiped the sweat from his brow, smiling. "He's just getting started." Week 3. The unexpected setback. Everything was going perfectly. Too perfectly. 4 days before the competition, disaster struck. During a high-speed turn, Max slipped on the wet grass, landing hard on his side. Eric ran to him, his heart in his throat. "Easy, boy." Max tried to get up, but his right hind leg buckled slightly. Panic surged through Eric. If Max was injured, it was over. They rushed him to the vet, where the doctor confirmed a mild muscle strain. Not serious, but it required rest. "We don't have time for rest," Jason said, his voice barely above a whisper. Eric felt the same dread creeping in, but he had to remain calm. "We adjust," he said. "We train smarter, not harder." The next few days, Eric modified Max's training, focusing on mental exercises, slow agility drills, and fine-tuning commands. On the final night before the competition, the family sat together in the living room. The entry fee had been paid, the training was done, and tomorrow would decide everything. Eric looked at his wife, his kids, and Max, who lay at their feet, completely relaxed despite the storm ahead. "No matter what happens," he said, "I want you all to know how proud I am of you." Jason hugged Max tightly. "He's not going to let us down, Dad." Eric ruffled his son's hair, but deep down he wondered, had they done enough? The morning air was crisp and biting as they loaded Max into their aging SUV. The drive to the competition was silent, the weight of the moment pressing down on them. As they pulled into the Bedford County Fairgrounds, Eric's stomach tightened. Everywhere he looked, he saw professional handlers in pristine uniforms, sleek dogs with championship pedigrees, and sponsors with high-tech equipment. They were the only amateurs here, the only ones without a corporate sponsor, without specialized gear. Eric felt his old doubts creeping in. Maybe this was a mistake. But then he looked at Max, standing tall, ears pricked, his tail still. Max wasn't afraid. He was ready. Jason, sensing Eric's hesitation, whispered, "We've come too far to back out now." Eric exhaled, tightening his grip on Max's leash. "You're right." The announcer's voice boomed over the loudspeakers. Welcome to the American K9 Challenge. Handlers report to the registration tent. The competition begins in 1 hour. This was it. No more training, no more second chances. It was time to see if all their hard work had been enough. The Bedford County Fairgrounds buzzed with an energy that made Eric's stomach tighten. As he walked through the massive venue, holding Max's leash firmly, he felt the weight of every professional gaze that fell upon them. These weren't just dog owners. They were champions, elite handlers with years of experience, teams sponsored by corporations with cutting-edge training facilities. And then there was them, a former K9 instructor, a determined 12-year-old boy, a skeptical 15-year-old girl, and a retired working dog trained for tactical operations. No team uniforms, no sponsors, just faith, raw talent, and the hope that Max could defy the odds. Eric took a deep breath, looking down at Max. The German Shepherd stood tall, ears pricked, muscles taut, his sharp eyes scanning the field. If Max was feeling any pressure, he didn't show it. Jason, vibrating with excitement, looked around in awe. "Dad, look at these dogs. They're huge. That one over there has a trainer wearing an earpiece." Sophia crossed her arms. "That's because they're part of professional training academies. Some of these dogs are national champions." Jason swallowed hard. "Do you think we even have a chance?" Eric knelt next to Max, stroking his fur. "We didn't come here to lose, son." Max turned to lock eyes with him as if he understood every word. "Attention, competitors!" The announcer's voice boomed through the stadium speakers. "Report to your designated stations. The first round of the American K9 Challenge will begin in 15 minutes. It was time. The speed trial was simple, a straight 100-yard dash with electronic timers. The fastest dogs would qualify for the next round. Eric scanned the competition. Belgian Malinois, Border Collies, Dobermans, all built for speed, sleek and muscular. Then he spotted him. Timothy Baker, the 4-time champion, standing tall in his sleek black jacket, arms crossed as he watched the warm-ups with sharp, calculating eyes. His dog, a massive Belgian Malinois named Titan, was a muscle-bound rocket, lean and deadly fast. Baker's eyes met Eric's. He smirked. "Turner, right?" His voice was smooth, confident. "The former K9 guy?" Eric nodded, gripping Max's leash a little tighter. "That's right." Baker looked down at Max. "Not a bad-looking dog. K9s are tough, I'll give you that. But this isn't a training exercise. This is a competition." Eric met his gaze evenly. "We'll see." Baker let out a chuckle. "Let me give you some advice. Don't get your hopes up." Jason clenched his fists. "We'll see who wins." Baker just winked and walked away. The race began. Each dog was placed at the starting line. The crowd fell silent. The electronic buzzer counted down. 3, 2, 1. The horn blasted. Max launched forward like a missile, his legs devouring the ground beneath him. Eric's breath caught. He had never seen Max run like this. Titan, Baker's Malinois, was just as fast, the two dogs neck and neck, their powerful strides kicking up dust. The finish line blurred closer. Titan pushed forward, but Max found another gear. The moment of truth. They crossed. The electronic board flashed. Max, 6.39 seconds. Titan, 6.42 seconds. The crowd exploded in cheers. Jason shouted, jumping in excitement. "Dad, he did it! He won!" Baker narrowed his eyes, lips pressing into a thin line. For the first time, his confidence cracked just slightly. Max had beaten his dog. Eric knelt, gripping Max's face in his hands. "You're a beast," he whispered. Max licked his nose. The agility course was brutal. A maze of tunnels, hurdles, balance beams, and sharp turns. Elite dogs moved with precision, handlers giving crisp commands, everything rehearsed to perfection. When Max's turn arrived, Eric steadied himself, locking in. "You ready, boy?" Max barked once, eyes burning with focus. The horn blasted. Max moved like a shadow, weaving, leaping, twisting, every movement fluid, powerful, precise. Eric's voice was calm, firm, clear. Left, tunnel, jump, hold, move. Max obeyed without hesitation. The crowd held their breath as Max made it through the final turn, seconds faster than most competitors. Eric glanced at the leaderboard. Max had placed second overall. Sophia gasped. "Dad, that means we made the final round!" Jason hugged Max's neck. "You're a champion, buddy!" 15 teams remained. The last event was a mix of speed, agility, and obedience. The pressure was suffocating. As Eric and Max took their place, Baker and Titan stood beside them. "This is where it ends," Baker muttered. Eric exhaled. "For you, maybe." The horn blared. Max and Titan shot forward together. The obstacles came fast. Max leapt through rings, vaulted over hurdles, landed a perfect pivot turn. Then, disaster. A sudden, unexpected change in the course layout, a narrow, collapsing bridge leading to a 10-foot drop on the other side. Titan hesitated, but Max didn't. Eric's gut twisted. "No, wait!" Max jumped. Gasps erupted from the crowd. He twisted mid-air, gripping onto the edge of the bridge with his powerful paws. Eric's heartbeat stopped. "Come on, Max," Jason whispered. Max dug deep, claws scraping against the wooden platform. For a terrifying second, it seemed like he would fall. Then, with one final burst of power, he lunged forward, landing on solid ground. The crowd erupted. Max bolted for the finish line, crossing seconds before Titan. The stadium exploded in cheers. Jason screamed. Sophia burst into tears. Amelia, who had finally made it from work, covered her mouth, shaking. Eric fell to his knees, arms around Max. "You did it, buddy," he whispered. Baker approached, stunned. Then, with a reluctant nod, he extended a hand. "You won fair and square." The cheers still echoed in Eric Turner's ears as he gripped Max's leash, standing on the podium in disbelief. The American K9 Challenge trophy sat beside them, gleaming under the stadium lights. The massive check for $75,000 felt almost surreal in his hands. His heart pounded, not from exhaustion, but from the overwhelming realization that they had done it. Max sat proudly at his side, ears alert, chest high, his tail wagging just slightly, as if he knew the magnitude of what he had just accomplished. Jason had his arms wrapped tightly around Max's neck, his face flushed with excitement. Sophia stood beside him, wiping away the last remnants of happy tears, and Amelia, who had rushed straight from work, stood next to Eric, her exhausted eyes shining with relief and pride. Their family had come to this competition clinging to a fragile thread of hope, and now they were walking away, not just as winners, but as survivors. As Eric turned to face the cameras, flashes went off like fireworks, and a sudden wave of realization hit him. This wasn't just about the money anymore. This was about something much bigger: redemption, resilience, and proving that even when the odds are stacked against you, faith and determination can lead to something extraordinary. And at the heart of it all was Max. After the ceremony, as the crowd slowly dispersed, Eric found himself face to face with Timothy Baker, the four-time champion who, up until today, had never been beaten. His Belgian Malinois, Titan, stood beside him, just as disciplined and focused as ever. Baker studied Max with something close to admiration before looking back at Eric. "You trained him yourself?" Eric nodded, resting a hand on Max's back. "From the day I got him." Baker let out a small chuckle, shaking his head. "You're wasted as an amateur, Turner. A dog like Max doesn't just happen. He's the result of elite training, and I've seen a lot of trainers. What you did today? That wasn't luck. That was skill." Eric raised an eyebrow. "Are you saying you're impressed?" Baker smirked. "I'm saying I could use a guy like you." He folded his arms, his expression turning serious. "I run a K9 training academy in Boston. We specialize in elite security, search and rescue, and competitive agility training. Max's performance today proves that you know what you're doing. I'm offering you a full-time position. Salary, benefits, the works. Eric was stunned. He had walked into this competition on the verge of losing everything, and now he was standing here with an opportunity he never even imagined. He glanced at Amelia, who was already watching him with knowing eyes. "You should take it," she said softly. "This is the fresh start we've been waiting for." Eric hesitated only a second longer before shaking Baker's hand firmly. "I'm in." Jason cheered so loudly that Max barked in response, making everyone laugh. The crisp autumn wind carried the distant laughter of children and the rhythmic sound of paws hitting the ground. 1 year had passed since Max's legendary victory at the American K9 Challenge. Since Eric Turner had stepped onto that stage, trophy in hand, the weight of financial ruin finally lifted from his shoulders. Life had changed in every way imaginable, not just for the Turners, but for the entire community. Eric stood near the edge of the training field, hands in his jacket pockets, watching as young handlers led their dogs through an intricate agility course. The Cedar Grove K9 Challenge was in full swing, an event that had grown bigger than anyone had expected. Banners flapped in the wind. Vendors sold homemade dog treats. Families lined the fields, cheering for every competitor, whether they were seasoned handlers or nervous first-timers. And at the center of it all was Max. Though now retired from competition, the German Shepherd was still the heart of the event. He sat proudly beside Jason, his ears twitching as he observed the eager young dogs sprinting through tunnels, leaping over hurdles, and weaving through poles. A young boy, no older than 10, stood at the starting line, gripping his dog's leash tightly. The German Shepherd mix beside him shifted anxiously, its ears pinned back. Jason knelt beside them, voice low and reassuring. "Hey, it's okay. First time's the hardest." The boy swallowed hard. "What if we mess up?" Jason glanced over at Max and grinned. "See that dog? He almost fell off a bridge at his first big competition. But he trusted Dad, and he made it." The boy looked at Max, wide-eyed. Then, with a determined nod, he straightened his shoulders. "Ready?" Jason asked. The boy gripped the leash tighter. "Ready?" The horn blared, and the dog took off, his paws hitting the grass at a steady rhythm. The crowd erupted in cheers. Eric exhaled slowly, a deep sense of pride filling his chest. A year ago, he and Max had been standing exactly where that boy was now, unsure, out of place, but determined to prove themselves. And now, they were giving others the same chance. After the championship, the Turners' lives transformed in ways they never imagined. Eric had embraced his role as a professional K9 trainer, working alongside Timothy Baker in Boston. But instead of moving away, he had convinced Baker to expand a training center near Cedar Grove, bringing opportunities to more families in their hometown. Sophia's agility club had taken off, merging with her school's athletic department, helping track runners incorporate agility drills into their training. Jason had become something of a local hero, his confidence soaring. He studied every book on dog training he could find, learning techniques beyond even what Eric had taught him. Amelia, now working fewer hospital shifts, spent more time helping families who faced financial struggles, just as they once had. But no matter how much their lives changed, Max remained the soul of their home. Despite his growing age, he still patrolled their backyard with unwavering vigilance, still followed Eric's every command with perfect precision. But now, he had a new role, a mentor to younger dogs, a source of inspiration to every aspiring handler. As the Cedar Grove K9 Challenge continued, Eric found himself drawn toward the final event of the day, the search and rescue simulation. It was the most challenging event, designed to test a dog's ability to track a hidden target using scent detection, speed, and decision-making. Most competitors were still learning the fundamentals, but one young girl, A first-time competitor with a lean Belgian Malinois stepped onto the course with quiet confidence. As the horn blared, her dog took off, nose to the ground, weaving through the field with remarkable precision. Eric felt a strange sense of déjà vu. The way she worked with her dog, her calm presence, the way her voice guided him with absolute trust, reminded him of himself. By the time the event ended, the young girl had won. As she walked off the course, her dog's tail wagging proudly, Eric approached. "That was impressive," he said, offering a smile. "First competition?" The girl nodded. "Yes, sir. I've been training my dog for over a year. He was a rescue. I started working with him after I saw your story on TV." Eric raised his eyebrows. "You know about Max?" The girl grinned, eyes full of admiration. "Everyone knows about Max." As the sun began to set over the Cedar Grove training field, Eric stood beside his family, watching as the event wound down. Sophia was laughing with her friends, helping pack up the equipment. Jason was still coaching the young boy and his German Shepherd mix, ensuring they ended the day feeling like champions, win or lose. And Max, always alert, always watching, sat beside Eric, gazing out over the field as if he, too, knew what they had built here. Eric knelt beside him, running a hand through his thick fur. "You started all this, you know," he murmured. "Without you, we never would have come this far." Max let out a deep, content sigh, leaning into Eric's touch. For years, Max had been a guardian, a protector, a fighter who refused to let his family fall. Now, he had become something more, a legend. And as Eric stood up, looking out over the field filled with new handlers, new competitors, new dreams taking flight, he realized something. Max's story wasn't just theirs anymore. It belonged to everyone who believed that even in the darkest moments, there was always a way forward. And sometimes, that way forward came with 4 paws, unwavering loyalty, and a heart that refused to give up. As the last echoes of the competition faded into the cool evening air, Eric turned toward his family, his heart full. They had faced their hardest battle, and won. But more importantly, they had built something that would last far beyond them, a future where every underdog had a chance. A legacy where every champion started just like Max had, against the odds, but never without hope. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long golden rays over Maplewood Lane, where the Turner family home stood strong, not just a house anymore, but a testament to resilience, hope, and the unbreakable bond between a man and his dog. Inside, the scent of fresh coffee and warm laughter filled the kitchen as Eric Turner sat at the window, watching Max patrol the backyard like he always had. His movements were slower now, his once powerful strides softened with age, but his watchful gaze never wavered. Even in retirement, Max remained a guardian, a protector, a legend. Jason, now taller and more confident, walked outside, tossing a ball. "Come on, Max! One more run!" Max perked up, his tail wagging slightly before he bounded after the ball with the same determination he had always possessed. Eric chuckled, shaking his head. "He's never slowed down, has he?" Sophia, leaning against the counter, smirked. "Neither have you, Dad. You've trained 100 dogs since the competition, but Max? He trained us." Eric's smile faltered for a second as a wave of emotion hit him. She was right. Max had saved them in more ways than one. He had given them hope when they had none, a chance when they had run out of options, and a future they never thought possible. Outside, Max trotted back, ball in his mouth, his brown eyes gleaming in the fading sunlight. He dropped it at Jason's feet, then turned his gaze toward Eric, steady, unwavering, full of understanding. Eric knelt down, resting a hand on Max's back. "You did good, boy. Real good." Max leaned into him, as if he knew the journey they had taken together, the struggles, the victories, the fight to stay together against impossible odds. And in that moment, as the wind whispered through the trees and the echoes of laughter filled the air. Eric realized the truth. This story had never just been about saving a home or winning a championship. It had always been about love, loyalty, and the kind of faith that never gives up, even when the world says you should. Because champions aren't made by trophies. They're made by the hearts that refuse to stop fighting. And Max? He had the heart of a champion. This story is about resilience, love, and the unwavering bonds that hold a family together in the face of adversity. It is not just about a struggling man, a dog competition, or a financial crisis. It is about the power of hope when all seems lost. Eric Turner and his family were on the brink of losing everything: their home, their security, their future. But rather than giving in to despair, they chose to believe in something greater. They placed their trust in Max, not just as a K9 trained dog, but as a symbol of their collective strength, determination, and unity. Max himself represents more than just a champion. He embodies loyalty, perseverance, and the idea that sometimes the ones who save us aren't the strongest or the fastest, but the ones who refuse to let us fall. Through every obstacle, every setback, and every moment of doubt, Max never wavered, and in doing so, he taught his family what it truly means to fight for what matters. But the story does not end with a victory. The real triumph comes in what they do with their second chance, giving back, inspiring others, and turning their struggle into a force for good. By lifting others up, they prove that true success is not measured in trophies, but in the impact we leave behind. This is a story that reminds us that no matter how dark the road ahead may seem, with love, trust, and the heart of a champion by our side, we can overcome anything. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's explore more inspiring stories of courage and unbreakable bonds. Share your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another amazing story. Together, we can shine a light on the power of doing what's right. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.